afternoon, Evan. How are you today, Ken?
Oh, how are you, pal?
I'm in a great mood as I always am.
Me too.
And I've done a lot of soul searching on this Yankee thing. And I think everyone's missed the boat, us included, frankly.
How'd we miss the boat?
I think we missed the boat in the conversations we all had over the last 36 hours. Not so much the who do you blame conversation. You know, Garrett Cole's to blame for the loss, but the overall Yankee season and the fact that it ended in the manner it ended. And for the last day and a half, this radio station, every one of us, so we're included in this. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody else. We're included. Have tried to figure out, should Aaron Boone come back? Should Brian Cashman come back? Are they the problem? Is it time to find a new executive, a new manager, blah, 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 right? Mm-hmm. We've spent a day and a half doing it.
Yes.
We've all missed the boat on it. But that's my gift. Acknowledging when the boat has been missed, Evan.
So take the boat on the right path. Then.
That's what I'm going to do
Where
right
are we
now.
going?
It's not whether or not Aaron Boone's the right manager. I'm with you in suggesting that we overstate the importance of a manager.
It's an irrelevant discussion. We're going to have it, but it's irrelevant.
It's a big deal. I don't think it's as big a deal in baseball. Okay?
Totally agree.
We're in the same boat. So Aaron Boone, okay, put him to the side for a second, right? So the big conversation, rightfully so, came down to, is it time to say goodbye to Brian Cashman? And yesterday I said yes.
You did.
And I said unequivocally yesterday that it's time to pick a new person to decide who gets to wear the pinstripes. And I believe that the majority of Yankee fans, it's never going to be 100-0, are at that point now where they agree. Time for some new blood, a new way of processing things, a new concept of what type of players are Yankee players, right? We missed the boat. It's not on Brian Cashman. Here's the one guy that is solely responsible for the future of the New York Yankees and responsible for what we've seen over the last 12 years, right? And his name is Hal Steinbrenner. That's the guy. Hal Steinbrenner has to make a decision that the luxury tax no longer exists.
It doesn't exist.
It did exist for them.
It did, but it doesn't.
It did.
It did in the moment. Now, first of all.
Well, I'm talking about what took place.
Yeah.
So trying to solve and fix what took place, that's what took place. It's time to act like the New York Yankees financially. If there's a guy out there, we're not going to worry if the other team's going to pick up his salary, as they did with Rizzo, as they did with everybody they signed at the trade deadline. The Yankees didn't spend a nickel at the trade deadline for this year. So it's time that the New York Yankees ownership says, whether it's Brian Cashman, whether it's Billy Beane, whether it's Stearns in Milwaukee, Chernoff in Cleveland, or half a dozen other guys that you know of that I've never heard of, who are all quality, legitimate, top-end baseball
So you
men.
want to spend your way out of it.
Goddamn right.
That's the answer.
And this is why I don't need to hear Brian Cashman speak. I know he's going to. People want to hear it.
Right.
I don't need to hear Aaron Boone speak again. There's only one guy that as a Yankee fan, we want to hear speak, and we need to hear speak. And that one guy is Hal Steinbrenner.
Haven't you figured out?
You're welcome.
Haven't you figured out the Hal Steinbrenner calendar yet?
You're welcome.
The Hal Steinbrenner calendar is an every couple of year thing. Like 2 years ago, the New York Yankees spent $300 million on Garrett Cole. He was clearly the best pitcher on the market.
Right.
They identified him, they blew everybody away, and they got him. Correct?
Yep, that's exactly right.
2 years before that, they acquired Giancarlo Stanton, a mega contract that very few teams could afford. Many years before that, they signed, again, this was a bad move, but they signed Jacoby Ellsbury and gave him $150 million.
That's right.
A few years before that, they signed Mark Teixeira
It's time
and CC Sabathia.
to do it again.
Of course they are.
No. There's
Of course they are.
No, and I tell you why they may not.
They are.
Yeah, but here's what the Yankee fan wants to hear, because Brian Cash was going to blow smoke up your ass about how we were disappointing, we underachieved. I'm pissed off about it.
Right.
You deserve better. We want better. Blah blah, blah blah, blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. That's what we're going to get.
Right.
And it's going to piss people off. Here's what we need. Here's what we want. Memo to the New York Yankees. Hal Steinbrenner is the only guy on the planet today that can speak to the Yankee fan and make the Yankee fan feel good.
By saying what? I'm going to spend as much money as humanly possible?
There is no price limit on what I'm willing to do this offseason.
Right.
And you'll have to tell me, are there valuable guys available? Okay, because every year is different than the next.
The thing you have to keep in mind, though, is that there is no CBA coming up.
Well, that's a separate issue.
No, it's not separate because a part of why Hal Steinbrenner didn't spend last year was resetting the luxury tax threshold. Now, you are more in your right to say, Evan, I don't give a damn about the luxury tax threshold.
I don't.
Blow past it, spend every dime on tax.
That's
and I'm
right.
with you because I felt that way about the Nets, so I'm
Yankees
with
should
you.
treat players like Imelda Marcos treated shoes. I cannot have enough. All right? And here's the deal. The Yankees, I will say this. They did take a financial hit far greater than any other team as a result of the COVID mess. Mm-hmm. They lost legitimately several $100 million. I'm not poo-pooing that. But you're still the New York Yankees. You've got the money.
They do have the money, and they've spent the money, but I think a fair criticism of Brian Cashman is, has he spent it wisely? You yesterday, rightfully so, and many Yankee fans rightfully so yesterday, discussed the question marks around Garrett Cole. When they signed him and gave him $300 million, Hal Steinbrenner wrote that check. And we all said, great. You went out and got the best pitcher available.
And we were all very giddy about it, too. That's right.
But that's
you know
my
what?
point. Like, you've got to get the right guys. It's not squarely spend, which the Yankees have done. Maybe not to the degree of your wanting. Maybe not even to the degree of what George did 15 years ago. But you can't deny that the Yankees have still acted like a big market spending
I don't deny
team.
it. I'm saying that's the answer. That's all the fans want to hear. The fans want the owner to come out. I've talked to a lot of fans in the last 36 hours. Mm-hmm. The fans don't want to hear Brian Cashman, woe is me. They don't want to hear Brian Cashman saying, we suck right now. We don't want any of that. We don't want to hear of the general manager come out and say, I'm dedicated to fixing this. I'm going to do everything in my power to make it right. Because it's lost.
Right.
It's noise.
So you want him to say, we are going to spend our way out of this problem?
I want him to say.
Is that the words?
We will not, no stone will be unturned.
Right.
No player will be not thought of. No amount of money will stop us from getting back where we belong.
And here's the big question. When you look back at Brian Cashman's resume over the last 20 years, sometimes when he's done that with Hal's money, he hasn't done it correctly. Like, that's the other thing. Having the money is great. And I could sit here right now and I could tell you who you should pick. I know the guys.
Carlos Correa,
really?
starting
Disagree.
shortstop.
Number one, disagree with you.
Oh.
But that's okay. Carlos Correa would be fine.
Trevor Story, starting shortstop.
Disagree. You're missing the guy. You want to try again? You're 0 for 2.
I don't know anyone else.
Come on, there's another guy. He's playing right now. He's a lefty.
He's
the
in
guy.
LA. That's the guy. Corey Seager.
Number one.
Go get him.
Number two. I'll keep going. Starling Marte. That's number 2. And I'll give you another one. You want to get nuts?
Yes.
You want to get nuts?
I want to get loose.
You don't trust Garrett Cole, right? He's not your age?
I don't trust Garrett Cole as far as I can throw him, but Garrett will join us later in the program.
You don't trust Garrett? All right. Here's what you do.
Yeah, right.
Our favorite drunk guy. You go up to him. You say 2 years, $40 million a year. Max Scherzer. Yeah, you like that?
Let's get busy.
I know this won't happen, but Freddie Freeman.
I want to build an all-star team, and I don't care if it's $300 million. And I've been thinking about it a lot ever since we did yesterday's show, and going home, sitting in traffic, driving in, sitting in traffic, traffic. And I had this great epiphany. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing, as a Yankee fan, you want to hear, because there's nothing Brian Cashman's going to say that's going to make you say, oh, thank God he's still here.
No. The thing that scares you, though, is, look, I'm giving you my opinion on who I'd add. And by the way, if you want it to be Carlos Correa, I get it. It's a baseball.
Just give me one of those. Give me one of them.
Well, but that's the problem. See, that's the issue. The issue is going to be, are you going to spend it wisely?
Right.
Like when the Yankees acquired Giancarlo Stanton, to me at the time it was a no-brainer. You're getting him for nothing. But here's the counter to that. If you waited, you could have signed Bryce Harper. Now, that's a fair discussion. Hey, would you rather have Bryce Harper? Would you rather have Giancarlo Stanton? So where the Yankee fan looks at Cashman and says, I don't know, is are you going to do it wisely? Jacoby Ellsbury was not wisely.
That was a disaster.
Stanton has been red hot, had a great close to the season. There are still Yankee fans that look at that decision and say, hey, I would have waited on Bryce Harper. The Garrett Cole thing was a no-brainer. I'm sorry. And we're all going to have to live with that. He was far and away the best pitcher
Here's
out
why
there.
I agree. We all wanted him.
Yes.
So you can't look back and go, why'd you give Garrett Cole 324? We demanded that they go get Garrett Cole.
I'm going to give you good news about the Steinbrenners.
When I say we, that was before my Yankee fandom began, but I was yelling and screaming as well.
I'm sure
go
you
get
were.
Garrett Cole.
The last time the Yankees had they've bought guys. Like I mentioned, Cole, Stan, I get it. The last time they had a get the hell out of our way, we're the New York Yankees offseason was when the Yankees somehow missed the playoffs in 2008. Closed down Yankee Stadium, missed the playoffs. And what did Brian Cashman do? He signed Mark Teixeira. He signed CC Sabathia. He signed A.J. Burnett. And I think we all know what happened next.
2009 World Series champions, even if some broadcasters have forgotten about it. That's exactly.
Who the hell would forget the 2009 World
There's a
Series?
guy in MLB Network who hosts a show called High Heat who forgot that the Yankees won the World Series in 2009. You think on MLB Network you wouldn't make that mistake.
That's
but it
impossible.
Happened. No, it's not impossible. I have the audio of it.
That's impossible.
It happened. And listen, sometimes people forget things. I don't know.
So you want
But it
to
happened.
spend your way out of trouble.
That's right.
The old Yankee fan is back.
That's right.
That's what you want.
Because.
And I don't blame you.
Here's the deal. It doesn't matter what Brian Cashman says at a postseason press conference.
Of course.
It means nothing. It's noise. It doesn't matter what my dear friend Aaron Boone says. It's noise. The only guy's voice that matters for Yankee fans this offseason is the voice of Hal Steinbrenner. And I would say this. He's got to speak next week.
But you know
I'm
what?
not saying he's going to.
But the problem,
but you come out from the perch on the castle, and you tell Yankee fans, "I got you."
It doesn't matter. You know when it matters? When you do it. That's when it matters. Hal Steinbrenner, Brian Cashman can say all day, "Hey, we are committed to turning this around." They can give you all the red meat you want. What's going to matter is at that press conference when Mrs. Seager and Corey Seager or Mrs. Correa and Carlos Correa are standing there holding those jerseys.
That's right.
When Matt Scherzer with a beer in his hands and his shirt off is saying, maybe I do like New York. That's when it matters.
Yeah, well, but there's steps to everything, right? So step number one is you've got an angry mob, and the angry mob wants answers. And the angry mob does not want same old, because for 12 years, while they've gotten to the postseason, they haven't gotten where the Yankee expectation is, and that's to a World Series, and of course, fingers crossed, winning the World Series. So it doesn't matter what Brian Cashman says. Brian Cashman told us during the year this year the team sucked. He's honest about it.
Right, and he was right.
Brian Cashman out there and brought in lefty bats, recognizing at the trade
Except
deadline.
one of them hit 150 and struck out every other at bat.
And he's the only one that's under contract for next year, too.
He is.
So Joey Gallo will be in the Bronx unless some other team's willing to take him for a nickel. But the point is this. The one guy that we didn't talk about at all yesterday, shame on us, shame on the radio station, is Hal Steinbrenner. And I don't want, like, comparisons to his dad. It's not fair. So I don't care what George Steinbrenner would have done.
No, but you know what, Craig? Even if you're not doing it on purpose, you're asking for Hal to be George. You are.
I am not.
You are because
he's already not George.
What you want Hal to say is what George would say. You want Hal to say, tell me if I'm wrong here. I'll do my Hal Steinbrenner imitation.
All right.
You tell me if this is what you want.
Get ready, Ed.
Yankee fans, we're going to spend. And we're going to fix this because this is unacceptable. Is that what you want?
I like it. Yeah, but you had no passion or emotion there.
That's Hal.
No.
That's Hal.
That was embarrassing.
Craig,
it was like you were talking to me in a library and it's just been shushed.
Have you heard Hal Steinbrenner talk?
Hal Steinbrenner's got a streak in him where he's got some personality.
Does he?
Yeah, usually on the golf course. Playing polo with the Buffy and Miffy, I think. Yeah. No, here's what you want.
Yeah.
This past season, he got pounded.
Oh, he's going to pound the chest?
Yeah, pounded.
Yeah.
Was unacceptable.
Okay.
You all deserve better, and you're going to get better because the checkbook is open. That's all I got to hear.
That's it.
You ain't got to say nothing else. You don't have to explain yourself to me. You don't owe any of us any of that. All you have to say is, as the owner and the steward of the New York Yankee franchise, what I watched this season was unacceptable, and I want you all to know, I have a brand new Mont Blanc pen in my pocket. That's an expensive pen.
Right.
And I've got my checkbook open. You will see a new Yankee team come March.
I want to clarify something then, because I brought up briefly yesterday the idea that the Yankees are going to spend big, and I truly believe it. They will spend big. You are now okay with Brian Cashman writing those checks. Because that's a big question here. Because there's a lot of Yankee fans that would expect them to spend, would hope that they'd spend, but they're going to say, well, hold on a second, guys. Fine. Who's spending?
Well, you asked a loaded question.
Well, it's a fair question, and it's the first question that needs to be answered.
But I think my gut tells me I believe Cashman's coming back.
I told you this.
I wouldn't bring him back because I think it's time to move on. 20 years is long enough. Classy, plaque, ceremony, peace out.
In a perfect world, I'd agree with you.
Yes, but my gut tells me, and I think you would agree, I do know the Yankee organization pretty well. My gut tells me that there's an internal battle about Brian Cashman, and I believe he will be back on a very short leash.
Look, you have to understand something.
I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
I want to be clear about what I'm saying. I don't think it is 100% universal in the Yankee front office or executive offices that Cashman comes back. I think it's a fight.
I will be very, very surprised if Cashman is not back. I understand that his safety isn't the same as it was 2 or 3 years ago, but you always have to think about the next step. Every single Yankee fan has to think about this. It's the position the Met fans are in right now, where we're looking for someone to lead the organization. If you move on from Brian Cashman, who is replacing him? That's a big question. That's the most important question, because it's easy to fire people you don't like, but what's more difficult is to hire the right person. So unless it's Theo, which I agree, hey, if Theo wants the Yankee job, sign me up. He doesn't. He doesn't want to be a team president anymore, at least not right now. So if you're going to move on from Brian Cashman, you better have a plan. And you better also understand that Brian Cashman will very quickly become the team president of the New York Mets. I
got no problem with that. I'm not afraid of that. If you don't make decisions based on fear or what other people think about your talent.
But do you make decisions based on who you're going to replace them with?
Well, you have to have an answer.
Okay.
You don't fire Brian Cashman without having his replacement in your back pocket.
So what's the answer?
That I can't answer. I don't know.
It's difficult for you and many Yankee fans, and I get where you're coming from, because I've been saying the same thing about Cashman and how maybe it's time. It's not about if it's maybe time. It's about, okay, you've gotten rid of him. Yep. You got what you wanted. Now who runs the team?
Here's the deal. Don't forget, Cashman is signed through the end of next year, 22. Mm-hmm. He has 1 year left on his deal. So it's $5 million. He had a 5-year, $25 million contract starting in 17, ending in 22. So it's not as if he's in the middle of a contract. He is going into his lame duck year.
Hey, speaking of which, you said something which I tend to agree with, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
Cashman will be on a short leach. You said that, right?
He has to be, yeah.
Okay. You're Hal Steinbrenner, businessman.
Right. Yeah.
Are you going to allow a GM on a short leash to hand out $4 million contracts?
Yes, I am, because that's my commitment to the fans, which is why I'd be a great owner.
Okay, so let's say things don't go well.
Yeah.
You're going to fire Brian Cashman. You're going to hire a new team president.
That's right.
And they're going to inherit $100+ million contracts of Garrett Cole, Giancarlo Stanton, Corey Seager.
That's right.
Aaron Judge, who maybe you re-sign.
That's another guy you got to think about in the future.
So you're going to let a guy on a hot seat just go spend crazily?
Yeah, like a drunk sailor in Times Square, old Times Square. 877-337-6666. The New York Jets have gotten on the plane and flown into England, so they're getting ready for Sunday morning's game. We'll get into that. The New York Giants are in trouble's way when it comes to Sunday's game against the Dallas Cowboys. So I don't care how many times the coach says right there, or minimizes the accomplishments of his starting quarterback, which he apparently did either yesterday or early this morning. The Giants are in trouble this week. The Jets are going to 2-3, and the New York Yankees are about to spend like the drunken sailors you wish you were. We'll get your calls on all of it. Garrett will join us what time? 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock? I forget. I think 4 o'clock, maybe 3 o'clock. Who knows? Garrett's going to join us, and we have a lot to do in between all that stuff. It's Carton and Roberts right here on The Fan.